This story might be about a vacant lot in an established city neighborhood, or about a neighborhood that needs a park. But it's so much more. This is a story about trees and how trees help build communities. It's a story that dates back to the gold rush, when the city of Sacramento was just forming. Back then, standing water from the annual flooding from the American and Sacramento rivers made life here very difficult. But over time, by building levees and planting and protecting trees, the community grew. And almost 2 centuries later, Sacramento's civic leaders still gather on Arbor Day to celebrate the trees that define California's capital city.
Our goal is to have, by 2025, 5 million trees planted. So by 2020, we want to have 3 million trees planted.
5 million trees will really bring us to that place where the quality of life and the neighborhood experience is perfect.
Today, Sacramento is known as the City of Trees. It's a city that works, grows, and lives in one of the most fertile urban forests on the planet.
If you look at Sacramento from the air, you can really tell those neighborhoods and areas which have a great tree canopy, but you can also see areas that don't have nearly the density of trees that would be desirable to get the aesthetic value out of them, to get the energy-saving value out of them, as well as the other benefits. So there'll always be room to plant more trees.
Making trees grow takes more than planting. Varieties differ in the amount of shade they produce, their need for water, rate of growth, their yield as a food source, root structure, and life expectancy. It's considerations like these that add value to trees and help give strength to Sacramento's urban forest. Some people, like Bill Maynard, know a lot about trees. He lives here in Hagginwood, the community where he grew up and graduated from Grant High in Sacramento's Del Paso Heights. As a member of the Hagginwood Community Association, Bill oversees a grant from the Sacramento Tree Foundation to turn a small, neglected neighborhood lot into a green space that can benefit his entire neighborhood. Bill's a master gardener, an educator, a steward of the land. His instinct is to use his free time and knowledge to make his community better.
We're heading to Grant High School today to go see Anne Marie Kennedy and the students there of this GEO program. How you guys doing? I'm hoping to use the kids as a learning tool too for them, and for them to help give back to the community and create the signage for the trees that we're going to be planting. And it's this big area right here.
For Bill and the Hagginwood Association, involving Grant High's GEO program in the educational aspect of the project could mean more than signage. If the Hagginwood green space is to survive over the long term, care and maintenance for the parklet will rely on future generations. And the seeds of stewardship must be planted now. The Hagginwood community is a quiet, rather rural part of the city. Size of the lots may vary from small to large. Some residents board horses. There's an equestrian club, but no parks and few sidewalks. The Hagginwood Green Space, or Parklette, is a 1-acre, boot-shaped lot at the corner of Del Paso Boulevard and Astoria Street.
It's called the Parklet because we can't name it since it is a median. So we've been lucky enough to get one of the Tree Foundation and CAL FIRE grants where we're going to be planting more trees and edible fruits and also installing irrigation at the site and creating a community newsletter and giving trainings there about composting and tree planting.
Over the past 6 years, volunteers have periodically worked on the site. Trees have been donated and planted, trash hauled away. It's been an ad hoc effort with the potential of becoming something that the community may someday cherish and call their own.
We're going to be doing installation of sprinkler systems, planting more trees, more shrubs, more flower. We're going to try to put in a vegetable garden. That also will benefit the neighborhood.
Trees are really a way to bring neighborhoods and communities together. They are a common aesthetic pleasure to neighborhoods. People love seeing them.
When you plant a tree, you see progress, you see growth, you see improved shade and heat protection and greenery and beauty.
I was just over at my buddy's house and he was talking about how when he moved in, how they planted all the trees along the street. He's like, it just makes it feel more like a community here rather than just a neighborhood where people live, you know.
Despite the work at the site over the years, illegal dumping is still a problem, and city resources for hauling the trash away have dwindled. And there's vandalism, both from cars that run over small trees and from people that use the parklet as their personal nursery, including the cutting of evergreens for the holiday season.
This used to be a dumping ground for people that would dump their garbage and refuse and construction materials in the neighborhood. It wasn't gated or anything like that, and the neighbors wanted to end that, so we got together and worked with Steve Cohn, our council member, and put in a post and cable fence and worked with volunteer groups like AmeriCorps and other civic groups that wanted to do some volunteer work. And we've created a nice green space for our community.
Any community project demands communication. The newsletter committee for the Hagginwood Neighborhood Association often meets here, inside a local restaurant. Local news, special interest stories, project updates, and a calendar of scheduled events for the green space are virtually compiled and sent quarterly to every household.
We got the newsletter out and did a story about it, so people show, oh, I didn't really know whose it was, but it looks great. So, you know, hopefully we'll get more people involved and showcase the trees that the Tree Foundation offers.
Meeting at the local police station. Oversight for the Hagginwood Green Space is the job of the association board.
I want to make sure that you know about 2 upcoming meetings that are very important.
It's the opportunity to meet with local officials, discuss hurdles, gain input, and stay informed.
Trees are really a way to bring neighborhoods and communities together. They help maintain and increase property values. When people have pretty neighborhoods with nice trees that offer shade, energy bills go down and people think the neighborhood's more attractive. They help us with our landscaping to make sure that we use our resources wisely and don't have a lot of unused and wasted water.
Building the nation's foremost regional urban forest to help grow healthy, livable communities is the mission of the Sacramento Tree Foundation. It's a mission with a strategy to plant 5 million trees. It's a mission supported by an army of volunteers numbering in the thousands. It includes numerous partnerships and many organized projects like the Hagginwood Green Space.
We're actually part of a much larger worldwide organization, but in our local district we have 57 clubs, about 1,650 members, and we have members from 3 clubs here, Sacramento Metropolitan Lions Club, Harlech Lions Club, and Golden State.
That you're seeing right now is with the Church of Latter-day Saints. We're planting 124 trees, we're stewarding, we're taking care of, I'd say, another 150 trees. We're doing mulching and weeding and trimming of small branches.
On any given weekend, many volunteer teams are at work planting and caring for trees throughout the region. The Sacramento Tree Foundation makes sure that the right trees, the necessary training, educational materials, practical tools, and logistical support are in place and ready for the volunteers.
It takes weeks of planning to make sure that we have the tools available, to make sure that we have the trees available, to make sure it all gets set out right. We have colored maps showing everybody where they're supposed to be.
We're hoping to plant 40 trees along Melvin Drive and in the local area. We have several neighbors who have chosen their trees ahead of time, and they're being planted for them right now.
It's an every week, all-out effort across the greater Sacramento area. Native trees and woodlands are replanted and protected, and mature neighborhoods are given new life as neighbors plant shade trees and build pride.
They went door to door to ask people, you know, would you like to have a tree in your yard? A lot of these people probably didn't know the people down the street. Now, like this lady here, I'm going to introduce myself. I live 2 blocks over, and she's going to know me. And every time I walk by this house, I'm going to know, I planted that tree.
I think anytime that you take pride in your home and where you live by making it beautiful, or even just being outside interacting is a great way to start community.
I always want to plant more trees the next weekend, somewhere else, as you get into it. I want to keep planting.
Just keep planting. It's become an anthem for the Sacramento Tree Foundation and an attitude that has spread to the surrounding communities.
Are you going to help plant trees? Yep. Go get some gloves.
It's taught in the schools, demonstrated on the playground, and validated by a belief that planting trees will make our communities better.
Hold the tree up and they bring up the water.
There are some instant gratifications, cooperating with your neighbors, planting the tree, seeing the tree start to grow and flourish, but the real benefits are for your children. And I think people get real satisfaction from that.
Be doing a compost training today and a tree planting demo for whoever shows up. So that's the detail from the Tree Foundation on how to plant a tree. We're going to be following that quite a bit.
In the Hagginwood community, workshops at the green space will hopefully attract neighbors and get them involved. The green space can't survive without a committed workforce to oversee the parklet.
About 3 or 4 people have been really taking it on, watering, mowing the grass, pruning, and then I organize a lot of volunteer groups to come through. It's been great.
But the key to the future for this green space are the large number of groups that volunteer their time and resources. They're church groups, businesses, and social organizations.
From the last 2 or 3 years, really especially, we've seen an increase in groups that want to volunteer, which is awesome. It helps our project out tremendously because sometimes we don't get the volunteers that we should from the neighborhood.
We are celebrating our Sustainability Week in conjunction with Earth Day. And so we thought, hey, we could get out in the community and do a garden or do something like that.
I grew up in Davis, kind of the whole green center of this local area. I kind of just grew up with that, and I'm just glad to see that there are projects like this around for me in Sacramento.
It's helpful for us too, just to kind of get out and get some sun. It's good for our spirits too sometimes.
In the end, I feel like I did something for the community.
At the Hagginwood Green Space, there's always work to be done. Trimming, pruning, weeding, planting, mulching, and watering. It's work.
If everybody gives maybe their few hours, it's amazing what can be accomplished.
There's a really good feel here. When I showed up, everybody was already working, so it's like, what do you want me to do? And I took my loppers and I'm trimming some bushes, and others are planting trees. The fact that it was a dumping ground and has now become a green space, a small park that the neighbors have really invested their lives in, it makes it very cool to be a part of.
There's no way an urban forest is planted and cared for and expanded without having a tree planted by a volunteer.
In a very real sense, trees really do build community. But it takes time, and it takes people and planning to produce the benefits that trees bring to a green planet. Today, while much of Sacramento already lives under a mature tree canopy, the green space in Hagginwood is taking root. And this parklet is fast becoming part of Sacramento's growing urban forest.